How do you minimize the impact of behavioral mistakes? Hi, my name is Gary Mishuris. I'm the managing partner and chief investment officer of Silver Ring Value Partners. I also teach the value investing seminar at the FW Olin Graduate School of Business. So we all have behavioral biases and we're all going to make some behavioral mistakes. That's just unavoidable. It's life. And if you think that you are immune from behavioral errors, then that's probably because you're suffering from one of the most common ones, which is overconfidence. So how do we minimize their impact? Well, the first step is, I think, is to have a checklist and to have a very firm written down process that's guided by a checklist so that you can, slow down and make decisions as rationally as possible. That's not to say that, just because you have a checklist, you're going to be immune from behavioral mistakes. But I think that if you're using a checklist properly, it helps you react less emotionally and brings your whole process meticulously thought out into the decision making process. So whether it's an investment decision or a business decision or just any kind of decisions, I think that if they're important and especially if you have time to make them, which you hopefully should, then a checklist is a good idea. Now, the way you use a checklist is not necessarily that it has to be some score. I mean, that's one way of using it, saying, well, okay, I have 10 points and it has to be at least 8 out of 10. But I think the main function of a checklist is to make you think of all the aspects of the decision, more so than it is some kind of a scoring mechanism. So the next way to try and minimize behavioral errors is to try to do a premortem, to try and figure out if this decision has ended up being wrong and you're sitting 3, 4, 5 years down the road looking back, what are the sources of that failure? What happened? I think that will help you flush out the biggest risks, and also not just kind of a boilerplate biggest risks and where you list everything that under the sun that could go wrong, but really the most likely biggest risks. So premortem was another good way of controlling behavioral mistakes. Next is seeking out someone with a strong opposite point of view. Ideally, it would be someone who has that view organically. So let's say if you're investing in a stock, you might seek out someone who is selling that stock short or betting against it, because that person has probably researched their opinion quite a bit, and so you're getting an educated opposite point of view. And if after you consider that point of view, you're still comfortable with your investment decision, that's a good sign. That means you hopefully have been, you attempted to be persuaded by someone else, and your thesis has stood up to that test. If you can't find a naturally passionate person with an opposite point of view, you might try to do a devil's advocate exercise where someone you trust who is competent presents a strong opposite case and you consider their argument on its merits. So that's another way of guarding against mistakes, is to basically have a strong opposite point of view presented. And the last, fourth way to guard against behavioral mistakes is to make sure, to the degree at all possible, that even if all else fails and you're wrong, that this mistake is not going to completely jeopardize you or your family or your business or your investment portfolio, whatever the case may be. So for instance, at Silver Ring Value Partners, when I manage the portfolio, I really try to make sure that no one decision can lose us more than 10% of our capital. And the rationale is that that's a 10% loss can be overcome from the rest of the portfolio within a year, but say a 20% loss is very unlikely to be overcome within a year by the rest of the portfolio. So you really want to bet on your process, not on any one decision. And no matter how well you guard against behavioral mistakes, they're still going to happen. And so even after your best efforts, you want to make sure that you have some humility, acknowledge that you're going to be wrong from time to time, and size your investment decisions or any decisions accordingly. I hope this video has been helpful to you. If you liked it, please hit like and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more investing content. Thank you, guys.